All right, so we're diving into the fine art of small talk today.
Okay.
And w- listeners sent this one in Debra Fine's book.
Right.
And I think this will be fun because, we all have to make small talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes we kind of dread it,
Oh,
at parties or networking events.
yeah.
But she really dives into kind of the hidden power of it.
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she actually argues that it's more than just these
Right.
superficial little interactions that we have.
Yeah.
She sees them as building blocks
Yeah.
for more meaningful connections.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think is a cool way to look at it.
Yeah, because I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
Where you're stuck in that awkward elevator silence.
Oh,
Or
totally.
you're, at a networking event and
Mhm.
you're looking for the nearest exit.
Yeah.
And it's we've almost forgotten how to just chat,
Right.
you know?
Well, she has this really interesting point about that.
Okay.
She talks about a pilot after 9/11
Okay.
who felt compelled to encourage passengers on the flight to actually talk to each other.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting that it took something like that
Yeah.
to remind us we've lost the art of conversation?
Yeah.
We're so afraid of rejection.
Yeah.
Or we're just not used to it or something.
Yeah, we're in our own little bubbles.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really good point.
So it's her whole thing is just take the risk.
Yeah.
Just smile, greet people, make eye contact.
Right.
These really simple things can make a big difference.
And you know what's really inspiring about her story?
Yeah.
Is that she started as a shy engineer.
Oh, wow.
So she wasn't
She wasn't a
a
nerd.
social butterfly from day one.
Right.
Yeah, she felt more comfortable with numbers than with people.
Okay.
But she transformed herself into this small talk guru.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it shows that it's a skill you can develop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not something you're just born with.
Right.
You can learn it. Yeah.
And one of the most simple but powerful things she talks about
Yeah.
is the importance of remembering and using people's names.
Oh, I'm so bad at that.
Really?
I'm terrible at remembering names.
Oh, no.
But I like how she says it's like giving them a tiny gift.
Oh, yeah.
Makes them feel seen and acknowledged.
Makes them feel special.
Yeah.
That you actually care.
Yeah, when someone remembers my name, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
they were listening.
Exactly.
They remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she has this great anecdote
Yeah, okay.
about sitting at a table with 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of waiting for introductions,
Yeah.
she takes charge.
Oh, wow.
She introduces herself to everyone.
Okay.
And make sure to remember and use each person's name throughout the conversation.
So she's kind of facilitating the connection
Yeah.
between everybody else.
Yeah, so it's she's not just being a good conversationalist.
Okay.
She's a leader.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So small talk is leadership.
It can be.
Yeah.
That's a good takeaway.
But I will say, we all forget names sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
What's her advice if you're in that awkward moment?
Yeah.
You've totally blanked.
She says just own it.
Oh,
Don't try to fake it.
Right.
Yeah. Just be honest and say, I'm so sorry I've forgotten your name.
Right.
Would you remind me?
Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Just get it over with.
Exactly.
Okay, so you've broken the ice. You've learned someone's name.
Right.
How do you keep the conversation going?
Good question.
How do you keep it flowing?
Well, she says the key is asking the right kinds of questions.
Okay.
And she makes a really important distinction between closed-ended questions and open-ended ones.
Ooh, okay.
So closed-ended questions are those ones
Okay.
where you can just answer with a yes or no or one-word answer.
How are you?
Yeah, exactly.
How was your weekend?
Yeah.
And then you're like,
And then it's okay, now what?
yeah, you get stuck.
Yeah.
So instead she says, ask open-ended questions.
Where people have to give you more detail.
Okay.
So instead of, how was your day?
Right.
It's, what was the highlight of your day?
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah,
Or instead of, how was your weekend? It's
Yeah.
what did you do that you really enjoyed this weekend?
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
So it's inviting them to tell you a story
Right.
instead of just giving you a one-word answer.
Yeah, it opens it up.
Yeah.
Like a highway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it shows that you're actually interested in them,
Yeah.
which is really the foundation of any good connection.
Yeah. And she shares this story about trying to get her teenage son to open up about his day.
Oh. Teenagers.
I know that struggle.
They're tough.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of persistence and genuine interest
Okay.
and follow-up questions
Yeah.
to finally get him to give her more than just a one-word answer.
That makes me think about those how was your weekend exchanges?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're like, fine, good.
Yeah. It's like we're just robots.
Right. It's like we're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
So she says, like, break out of that cycle,
Okay.
instead of asking that generic question.
Right.
Be specific, like, what made your weekend so great?
Right.
Or, tell me more about that trip you mentioned.
I see.
So you're actually listening.
Right.
And you're showing that you care.
So we're inviting them to share their story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how you build a connection.
Cool. Okay, so we've talked about words,
Right.
but she also talks about body language.
Yes. Nonverbal communication is so important.
I know I've been guilty of this,
Really?
where my body language is saying something totally different
Oh.
than what I'm thinking. Like my brain is engaged, but my body's like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Well, she has this really cute story
Okay.
about an 8-year-old boy named Nicholas
Okay.
who called out his dad
Okay.
for not listening with his eyes, even though the dad was technically, like, paying attention. Wow, that's insightful for an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it just shows you like how much those nonverbal cues matter,
totally.
even if we're not aware of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, make sure your body's on board too.
Yeah.
Like lean in, make eye contact, nod, smile.
Right.
All of those things show that you're engaged.
But if you're looking away or crossing your arms or fidgeting,
Yeah.
that's sending a signal.
That you're not interested.
Yeah.
Even if you are.
Right,
You're
right.
sending mixed messages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so body language is key,
Yes.
but let's be real.
Yeah.
Awkward silences happen,
They do.
even with the best intentions.
Of course.
And those silences can feel like forever.
Oh, yeah.
So what does she say for those moments?
She calls it conversation CPR.
Okay, I like that.
So it's when the conversation kind of flatlines
Yeah.
and you need to revive it.
Okay.
So one of her most helpful tips, I think, is the FORM acronym.
Form.
Yes. It stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, and Miscellaneous.
Okay, so it's like a mental prompt
Yeah.
to generate those conversation starters.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And you can think like almost any topic
Yeah.
can fit into one of those categories.
Okay.
So you can ask about their family, what they do for work, their hobbies,
Right.
or just any other random interests they might have.
Cool. So it's like a little toolbox
Yeah.
of conversation starters.
Exact.
But what if you're drawing a blank?
Well, then she says, observe,
Okay.
like pay attention to your surroundings
Okay.
and the person you're talking to.
Okay.
Are they wearing an interesting piece of jewelry?
Right.
Do they have an accent? Did they mention something earlier in the conversation that you can kind of pick up on?
Okay, so find those little hooks,
Yeah.
those points of connection
Right.
that can spark something more interesting.
And be authentic.
Yeah.
Like, don't force it. Don't try to be clever.
Right.
Just follow your genuine curiosity and let the conversation unfold naturally.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about initiating conversations,
Yeah.
keeping them flowing,
Mm-hmm.
rescuing them when they hit a snag.
Right.
But what about exiting gracefully?
Oh, yeah.
Because that can be awkward.
It can be.
You don't want to be rude,
Right.
but you also don't want to be trapped.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that?
Yeah. Well, she says, circle back to the initial point of connection
Okay.
and use that as a springboard for your exit.
Okay.
So you could say something like,
Okay.
it was great chatting with you about the healthcare industry,
Okay.
but I need to catch up with another client before they leave.
Okay.
Or I really enjoyed hearing about your work with the animal shelter, but I promised myself I'd check out the silent auction before it closes.
Right. So you're not just making up an excuse.
Right.
You're referencing something you talked about to
Exactly.
make it more natural.
And if you're really struggling to disengage,
Yeah.
you can kind of focus on your own goals. So you could say something like, I want to make sure I have time to browse the exhibits.
Right.
Or I promised myself I'd meet 3 new people tonight.
So you're not making it about them.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
You're making it about your own intentions.
But I remember you mentioned a funny anecdote about George Plimpton.
Oh, yes.
Tell me about that.
So he was a famous writer,
Okay.
and he always carried 2 drinks at parties.
Okay.
And if he found himself stuck in a dull conversation,
Yeah.
he would excuse himself by
Wow.
saying he needed to deliver the other drink to
Oh,
someone.
that's clever.
Right.
Like a pre-planned escape route.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
she makes a really important point.
Okay.
When you make an excuse like that,
Yeah.
actually follow through.
Oh, yeah.
Don't just use it as like an empty excuse to escape.
Right, because then you lose credibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta walk the walk.
Exactly. Okay, so exiting gracefully is just as important
It is.
as initiating that conversation.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing that she talks about that I think is worth exploring.
Okay.
And that's the power of follow-up
Yes.
and honoring those commitments.
It's so important.
Yeah, so stay tuned
Okay.
as we continue our deep dive into the fine art of small talk.
Sounds good. Welcome back. We were just talking about the power of follow-up.
Yes, the fortune is in the follow-up.
Right. Like, you can have a great initial conversation,
Yeah,
but if you don't follow up,
yeah,
it's like planting a seed and never watering it.
totally. And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with,
Yeah.
including myself.
What's interesting is that Fine says that most people don't follow up.
Really?
Yeah, like, they might have the best intentions,
Right.
but then they get scared.
Oh, yeah.
They worry about appearing too eager or bothering the other person.
Yeah, I'm totally guilty of that.
Really?
Especially in like professional settings.
Yeah.
Like I'll exchange business cards or promise to connect on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just never do it.
Oh, no.
I get in my head
Yeah.
and I'm like, what if they don't remember me?
Right.
Or what if they think I'm being pushy?
But she argues that it's actually the opposite.
Okay.
People appreciate being remembered and followed up with.
Okay.
It shows that you value the connection
Right.
and that you're genuinely interested in their
So
lives.
instead of assuming the worst,
Yeah.
we should assume the best.
Right.
Okay, I like that.
People are open to connecting,
Yeah.
and they appreciate those who take the initiative.
Okay, so how do we do it without being pushy?
Right. Well, she says just be authentic.
Okay.
Don't send a generic, just checking in email.
Right.
Personalize it, reference something specific that you talked about. Like
Okay.
maybe they mentioned a project they were working on, or
Yeah.
a challenge they were facing, or a book they were reading.
So you're showing that you're listening.
Exactly.
You're paying attention.
It's like you're saying, hey, I remember you.
Right.
I remember our conversation.
I like that. And she actually
Yeah.
shares this really good anecdote about being at a conference,
Mm-hmm.
and someone she briefly met mentioned a book they were working on.
Okay.
And weeks later, she just sent them a simple email asking about the book.
Oh, wow.
And that one email led to a deeper connection
That's amazing.
and even opened doors to new opportunities.
So you never know
Yeah,
what a simple follow-up can lead to.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so follow-up is key.
It is.
But what about honoring commitments?
Oh, yes, that's a big one.
Because I think a lot of us,
Yeah.
we make promises in the heat of the moment,
Yeah.
and then we don't follow through.
We've all been there.
Yeah, and it erodes trust, right?
It does.
If you're the one being let down.
Yeah, those unfulfilled promises, even small ones,
Right.
they can really damage your credibility.
Yeah, and your reputation.
It's better to underpromise and overdeliver.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah, so make fewer commitments and exceed expectations
Exactly.
rather than overpromising and disappointing people.
And this all ties back to like the deeper purpose of small talk. It's not just about like mastering the art of conversation.
Right.
It's about building relationships, fostering trust,
Okay.
creating a network of support.
I see. So it's all connected.
It is
It's
so.
not just about being charming or witty.
Right.
It's about showing up authentically,
Yeah.
honoring your word,
Mm-hmm.
and genuinely investing in the people you meet.
And that brings us to another really interesting point,
Okay.
which is the unexpected benefits of small talk.
Okay, like what?
So it's not just about networking or advancing your career.
Okay.
It can actually have a really positive impact
Okay.
on your well-being.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought of it as a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Something you do to be polite.
Well, she argues that in a world that's increasingly digitally connected,
Right.
we're actually more isolated than ever.
Yeah, we have thousands of online friends.
Yeah,
But we lack those real-life connections.
exactly.
Okay.
And she believes that small talk, those face-to-face interactions,
Right.
can be a powerful antidote to that.
So you're saying that like a casual conversation with a barista
Yeah.
or a fellow dog walker
Yeah.
could actually be good for me.
It can be.
Interesting.
It's about reminding ourselves that we're not alone,
Okay.
that we're part of a community.
I like that. And it takes the pressure off,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It's not about saying the perfect thing.
Right.
It's just about being present,
Mm-hmm.
being human.
And acknowledging that shared humanity.
Yeah, and she actually shares these stories about people
Yeah.
who have found solace and connection
Mm-hmm.
through these like seemingly mundane conversations.
Right.
Like with a cashier at the grocery store,
Yeah.
or a librarian,
Mm.
or a fellow passenger on a train.
It's those small moments of human interaction
Yeah.
that can really brighten our day
Yeah, I love that.
and remind us that we're all in this together.
It's like those little sparks of connection
Yeah.
can ignite this sense of belonging.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not just about receiving those connections.
Right.
It's about offering them to others as well.
Like a smile or a compliment.
Exactly.
Just a listening ear.
Those small acts of kindness
Yeah.
can make a big difference.
That reminds me of that quote by Mother Teresa.
Oh, yeah.
We can do no great things, only small things with great love.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I think that applies to small talk.
It does.
It's not about being perfect. It's about approaching every interaction with kindness
Yeah.
and empathy and that genuine desire to connect.
And who knows, those seemingly insignificant conversations
Yeah.
might lead to something more, a new friendship, a collaboration,
Yeah.
a chance encounter that changes the course of your life.
Wow. So we're really looking at small talk
Yeah.
in a whole new light.
It's not just about filling awkward silences.
It's about opening ourselves up to possibility,
Yeah.
to connection.
And to the unexpected beauty of human interaction.
I love that. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a question.
Oh.
How might you use these insights to create more meaningful connections in your own life?
What small steps can you take to be more intentional in your interactions
To nurture those relationships.
and to embrace the power of those everyday conversations?
Stay tuned as we continue exploring these ideas
Okay.
and more in the final part of our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive. You know, it's funny, we're talking about small talk,
Right.
but it feels like kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
All these concepts about connection and meaning.
Well, I think it's time we talk about the fear factor,
Oh yeah, the fear.
because I think that's what holds a lot of people back
Yeah.
from really embracing small talk.
Yeah, they're afraid of awkward silences.
Right.
We're saying the wrong thing.
Or just feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, I get so in my head sometimes I'm overthinking everything. I end up saying nothing at all.
Well, Fine acknowledges that fear is totally natural,
Okay.
especially for people who are introverted or shy,
Right.
but she says it can be overcome.
Okay, but how?
One technique she suggests is reframing anxiety as excitement.
Okay.
So instead of dreading those interactions,
Yeah.
try to see them as opportunities
Oh.
to learn to connect, to expand your horizons.
So it's like flipping the script.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Instead of, oh no, I have to talk to someone. It's, ooh, I wonder what I'll learn.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And remember, even the most seasoned conversationalists
Yeah?
have experienced awkward moments.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
It's part of being human.
So it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about embracing the imperfection.
Right. And those failures
Yeah.
can actually be the best learning experiences.
I like that. Yeah.
It takes the pressure off.
Okay, so it's not about performing.
No.
It's about connecting.
Right.
Okay.
And Fine says, small talk isn't about being brilliant or witty.
Okay.
It's about authenticity,
Yeah.
genuine interest, and the willingness to engage.
That makes it seem much more approachable.
It does.
Yeah.
And she has this tip.
Okay.
If you're really struggling with fear,
Okay.
start small.
Okay.
Don't try to dominate a networking event.
Right.
Just say hello to one new person.
Okay.
Practice with low-stakes interactions,
Okay. Like what?
like chatting with the barista,
Okay.
asking a coworker about their weekend,
Right.
complimenting someone on their outfit.
So those small wins build confidence.
They do.
Yeah.
And it becomes like a positive feedback loop.
The more you do it, the easier it gets.
Exactly.
Like a muscle.
And here's another key point.
Okay.
Don't focus on yourself.
Okay.
Focus on the other person.
Okay.
Be genuinely curious about their experiences, their perspectives, their stories.
It's like that saying you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yeah, we get so caught up in our own heads
Yes, we do.
that we forget to really listen.
Yeah.
And when you truly focus on the other person,
Yeah.
you're less likely to get trapped in your own anxieties.
Right.
You can be more present.
It's like mindfulness,
It is.
being fully present. Ugh.
Okay, wow, we've covered so much today.
We have.
Names, open-ended questions, body language follow-up,
It's a lot.
the fine art of small talk.
Right.
really gives us those practical strategies.
And it all comes down to turning those casual conversations into meaningful connections.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about.
It is.
Building relationships, fostering community,
Right.
recognizing that shared humanity.
Yeah.
So as you go about your day,
Yeah?
challenge yourself
Okay.
to see those small talk opportunities as chances to connect, to learn and grow.
I love that.
Smile at a stranger, strike up a conversation, and you never know where those interactions might lead.
Who knows? You might make a new friend or discover a hidden opportunity.
Or just brighten someone's day.
That's a great point.
Okay, well, that wraps up our deep dive.
Right.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Yeah.
And until next time, keep those conversations flowing.
Sounds good.